Budget public hearing, tentative budget, July 28th, 2020 to order. Let the record reflect that all the school board members, superintendent, our school board attorney, and school board clerk are in attendance. Dr. Griffin?
Okay, we're going to begin with a presentation from our joint CFOs. Just let it roll. Okay.
Good evening, board members. This is the first public hearing on the proposed millage rates and tentative budget for the fiscal year 2020-21. Tonight's public hearing on the tentative budget will include an overview of regarding the proposed millage and budget. There will be an opportunity for public and board member comment. We will request that you adopt the resolution setting the proposed total millage levy to support the 2020-21 tentative budget. We also request that you adopt resolution approving the 2020-21 tentative budget as presented. We will also request that you adopt resolution approving, we will request authorization for the superintendent staff to perform all necessary actions to comply with the truth and millage requirements. Lastly, we announce the date of the final public hearing to adopt the 2021 budget. So let's get started. The truth and millage legislation was enacted in 1980, and the requirements are detailed under section 200.065 Florida statutes. The statutes dictate the form, size, and placement of the budget advertisement, as well as the order of business during the budget hearing. TRIM requires 2 public hearings for open discussion of the millage rates and the proposed budgets of all tax authorities.
The board members, while Mr. Seiss works on that, the order for tonight will be Dr. Calderon, Member Sanchez, Member Kraus, Vice Chair Pennick, and then myself.
Here we go.
Thank you.
And now we got it. Okay, what is a mill? A property tax levy of $1 per 1,000 of taxable property value. The Florida Education Finance Program is a mechanism by which state and local funds are allocated to Florida school districts. The Florida legislature sets the required local effort millage and a prior period funding adjustment rates that must be levied by the school board. The school board must levy the required local effort millage and a prior period funding adjustment in order to receive any state funding under the Florida Education Finance Program. The total proposed millage related to school funding for the 2021 school year is 5.934 mils. The millage would generate revenue for the general operating and capital outlay funds. As previously mentioned, the millage rates are determined by the Florida legislature, and this is the maximum millage that the school board is allowed to levy without a specific voter-approved referendum. The district must levy the required local effort and the prior period funding adjustment to receive approximately $260.9 million in state FEFP funding. In addition, we must levy the full basic discretionary millage to receive $9.7 million in compression funding from the state. The proposed total millage rate related to school funding of 5.934 mils represents a decrease of 0.199 mils when compared to the 2019-20 school year.
Can you repeat that? That's a decrease?
That's a decrease, sir. As required by TRIM, we must compare the proposed millage rate to the rollback rate. The rollback rate is the millage rate that would generate the same amount of revenue as last year if applied to the current year's adjustable taxable value. Under TRIM, the rollback rate is the basis for determining if tax rates have increased or decreased. This slide compares the proposed millage rates to the rollback rate. The current state law rollback rate is 3.7056 mils. The current proposed state law millage rate for the 2020-21 is 3.686 mils. The proposed rate is 0.53% less than the rollback rate. The rollback rate for the total millage is 5.8498 mils. The proposed total millage rate is 5.934 mils. The proposed total rate is 1.44% more than the rollback rate. Based on this information, we advertised a notice of tax increase on Sunday, July 26. The Seminole County tax levy will increase by $6.5 million for school-related taxes in 2020-21 as compared to the prior year, where the millage rate is decreasing. The total levy is increasing by 2.71% over the prior year. So how are your property taxes calculated? The tax value of a homeowner's property equals the assessed value as determined by the Seminole County Property Appraiser's Office, less 25,000 homestead exemption if applicable. The homestead exemption is an amount that is exempt from ad valorem taxes. The amount is established by law for property used as the owner's primary residence. It's normally $25,000. The portion of property tax related to school funding equals the taxable value divided by 1,000 times the school district millage rate. Therefore, in this example, a homeowner with the assessed value of $200,000 with a homestead exemption will pay $1,038.45 of school-related ad valorem property tax to Seminole County. How will this impact taxpayers in Seminole County? This slide illustrates the changes in school-related property taxes for Seminole County homeowner over the last several years. In this example, a homeowner valued at $200,000 in 2016 would have generated roughly $1,199.98 in school-related property tax. If the owner qualified for Save Our Homes by the 2020-21 school year, the assessed value of the same home would be $217,335. Based on this valuation, the school-related property tax would be $1,149.35. This is a decrease of $8.28 from the 2019 tax year or 2019-20 school year, and a 4-year cumulative decrease of $58.63. Most property owners are very familiar with this document. This is sent by our friend at the Property Appraiser's Office. This compares, this is how my taxes be computed for non-home extended. If we compare last year's school-related tax levy in column 3, based on an assessed taxable value in column 1 of $200,000 to this year's proposed tax levy in column 8, with the same assessed taxable value of $200,000, the proposed savings for an individual Seminole County property owner is $39.80. Now let's change our focus from taxes to the budget you'll be adopting tonight. The key items in this budget have been shared with you in previous workshops and presentations. The budget that was presented to you on June 16th have been adjusted to incorporate the second FEFP calculation and the final certification of tax roll. Other minor changes and adjustments were made to fund balance as we continue to close out the 2019-20 school year. The district's total budget in summary form. The general fund is the main fund from which most operating expenditures are paid. In addition, tonight you'll be approving budgets for the debt service fund, which is used to pay for the outstanding bonds of the district, capital projects fund, which is the amount for major construction and renovation projects, special revenue fund, which consists of your dining service program, or as Chad likes to call it, Red Apple Dining, and federal programs. Internal service funds, which accounts for the district's health insurance, property casualty, and workers' compensation. Internal leasing fund, and print shop. The total budget, tentative budget for all funds is $22,303,805. Madam Chair, this is the time I turn it over for public comment.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do you have any public?
I received no public comment for the budget public hearing.
Is there anyone in the audience that? Okay, can you fill out a form and bring it to the clerk, please? You can speak and then fill it out? Well, you can, no, it's in an effort for everybody's time. Forgive me on that one. We're not used to being here in person.
Hello, my name is Brad Miller, and I have two children going to Heathrow Elementary this year. They went last year as well. And I guess my first question would be that, we had to vote to see how many people would be going to school this year face-to-face versus distance learning or a mixture of both. And from what I saw, 23% said they would be going back to school face-to-face this year.
Is your comment related to the budget?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So based on the fact that we have so few students going back to school, I guess I have some questions about some of the expenditures that are listed, like 10 new school buses. I mean, we're only going to be using approximately half of the buses at most. So why would we need new school buses this year versus next year where we don't have depreciation and maintenance to take care of those buses throughout the year? And then I guess my other question would be that a lot of administrators are there for a full school. When you have so many less students going to school, do we really need every administrator that we had during a full school year? Is that a way that we can alleviate some of the, cost to the taxpayer?
Madam Chair, is it okay if I answer?
Pardon me?
May I respond?
Dr. Griffin?
All right. Thank you for your questions. I think a lot of people have the same questions. So let's start with the school buses. If we order school buses today, it could be 6 to 9 months before we receive them. So really, buses ordered today for this year will help us the end of this year and next school year. So it's not like we're going to get them the first day of school. We're hoping COVID is over at least halfway through the year, hopefully even much sooner, and we will have a need for those buses. And I think if we did not order them now, there's going to be a lot of people ordering after COVID, and then it could be a shortage. We have one of the oldest fleets in the state, and we cannot continue for 21, 22 I'm talking about, without the replacement of those buses. So I think it's prudent to order them knowing the amount of time it takes to get those buses. The second question about administrators, yes, we have fewer students attending face-to-face, but we still have the same number of students attending in Seminole County. So what will happen over time, when you add the total number of students, we're still going to hit 67,000. And so what will happen is over time we will shift responsibilities. For example, I think today I heard we have over 9,000 students just in the COVID-related part of Seminole County Virtual School. So we'll be moving some administrators there. I think what's misleading in the numbers are the number of folks that did not respond. And I think your question is based on the assumption they're not going to show up. They're going to show up. We have that every year. We have a large percentage of parents who show up the first couple weeks of school. They show up during pre-plan. And right now we are reaching out to every single family that did not respond to figure out what their choice is, either Seminole Connect or face-to-face. And we're being pretty successful getting the numbers. And board members, you'll see on the dashboard that did not register, that number will decrease over time.
That's true, but that was a 27%. So even if 100% of that 27% was to decide they wanted to go face-to-face, you'd still be at a 50% enrollment rate. So what would the administrators that are there, what would they do if there's only half the students? What would they actually be doing?
Right, there's only 50% of the students at the school. Over time, we would move the administrators to where they would need to be, some to Seminole County Virtual School. But there's still administrative work to be done when our students are learning remotely. There's all the organization, that whole piece. We would not want to just eliminate those administrators. And then what happens when we start bringing students back? We're hoping this isn't going to last that long. What would we do if we didn't have people in the buildings for when our students return back to school? So it's really, we're going to shift responsibilities just as we did fourth quarter as necessary, but there is, now we're not hiring a lot of additional outside people, but we're going to remanage and rework the people that we have.
But you need more money to do 50% as many students at the school? You'd need more money to do that?
I was remiss in not having Vice Chair Pennock read that we give each person 3 minutes for public input. When you fill out your form, if you'd like a return phone call, someone call you back. Thank you. Okay. Board members, comments or questions? Member Calderon?
No, thank you very much to our co-CFOs for all the work that you've put into this budget. I know we got the numbers very late this year from Tallahassee, and I know there were many late nights and weekends to put it together. And just for the public to know, this isn't our first hearing or workshop or information on our budget. We have been working on it for the majority of this year without the solid numbers from Tallahassee. And if I may say, it is actually a decrease, and we still have teachers to manage and teachers to evaluate, and many other things go into an administrative role other than being physically at a building.
Thank you. Member Sanchez?
Also, thank you so much. I know this took a lot of time to work. One question I did have, I just wanted to, since there was some miscommunication with some of the community members, can you explain the verbiage, how the state requires you to write a certain thing based on reporting it to the public for public notice about the budget hearing and a budget tentative review?
Correct. Under the truth in millage law with the state of Florida.
Can you speak up a little bit? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
The same for you. You're hard to understand.
Can't hear me either?
Hard to understand.
Okay. Did you hear my question?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, with the truth in millage law, we're required to advertise. There is actually a tax increase when you look at the assessed property values are going up. And that's really related to new construction occurring around Seminole County. So as you add a new home or apartment complex, that adds to the tax roll in Seminole County. So our millage rates for a school district is actually going down.
Correct.
But the total assessed value in Seminole County is actually going up. So when you apply our new millage rate, our decreased millage rate against that, it's actually a tax increase, and that's what that's.
Right, and I know there's certain verbiage that you have to abide by through the state. And I think that's where some people were confused. And that's basically what I wanted to get from you, that, there's certain language that you must use in order to advertise it and let people know.
Yes, we're required under that law to actually advertise those budget ads the way that they came out in Sunday's paper, correct?
Great, thank you. And so we are definitely seeing a decrease, and that's great news. So,
Thank you. Member Kraus?
I have no particular comments. I just would like to thank the team for presenting a budget that is actually a lower rate for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Pennock?
Thank you, Todd, for yesterday walking us through this whole narrative so that we could respond to the information that was out there. I don't have it in front of me to add, but can you just give us the general categories for which this restricted funding can be used for?
So we're talking about the millages? Is that we're generating from the general fund? Is that?
Talking about the line that is increased, not the millage.
Okay, so in the millages.
I thought it had it in there. Can you just give us a brief overview of what the restrictions are for the use of this capital outlay funding?
Okay, yeah, in the advertisement that went out to the paper, here, let me just turn to that page. And I can just go over some of those.
Oh, are you looking for the ad?
Oh, do you have, well, it's on the capital.
Oh, okay.
Here, next year. Let me just
On
pull it
page
up.
6.
For the ad.
Yeah, for the school capital outlay funds, of course, that funds new construction, new school buses, or the replacement of old fleet, as we were stating before. It covers all your maintenance costs as well. So it's covering the 1.5 mil money that is actually recorded in your capital projects fund will fund construction and remodeling, maintenance and renovation, motor vehicle purchases, also new and replacement equipment, computers and hardware devices, system software necessary for gaining access to our electronic digital information here, enterprise resource software. It also could cover educational facility sites due under a lease agreement, and that would be, or payments for that would be your debt service payments, payments for renting and leasing educational facilities. Also, it would be environmental issues too. It would cover the cost for that. The payment for also leasing relocatable educational facilities or releasing of those facilities and purchasing of those leased vehicles. Did I answer your question?
You answered my question, but I want you to state this loud and clear. This is capital outlay money. It is for capital projects. It is not for
the general fund.
The general fund, which covers operating.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Not, this increase cannot go to general fund to cover those operating expenses.
That's correct. This is, it's out of the main, how it's more technical, but I won't go into that. But your maintenance costs are actually recorded in your general fund, but they're reimbursed by the capital project. That's all requirements of the state and how we account for things in the school district.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work you've put in and all the explanations that you've taken the time to give us. I know a lot goes on behind the scenes that the public is not privileged to see. I know there were a lot of cuts that don't show up in here, and I think if you maybe share some of that, that might help address that we're not just saying, okay, the rate got rolled back a little bit, and we're getting more revenue. You made some really tough decisions, Dr. Griffin and team. If you'd share some of those.
Certainly. We certainly had a cutback. I'll give one example. We had a world languages program that we really liked. We made a difficult decision to eliminate that program, not the dual language program, but I think that was, I see Ms. Cardona back there, like 17 teachers or so. We looked at every instructional program that we had, including some of the software and the things that we used, and we made cuts. Todd, do you remember the total amount, the dollar amount of cuts?
I actually put that information in your budget book, Dr. Griffin, and the total, I mean, there were so many restructuring and cuts, and it basically alludes to that question.
Go ahead and just read through those.
Sure.
I think it's good for everybody to hear.
Okay. So on page 21 of the budget book, so we had net estimated instructional support staffing changes, about $3.3 million reduction. That's that restructuring that we're talking about. And as we know, every school year, about 400 teachers, we have to hire 400 new teachers because of through attrition. And but we were able to restructure there a little bit and save us some money. Support staffing points adjustment was 92,000. Custodial service points adjustment, it was a reduction of 202. School FTE budgets, it was a reduction of 319. District level departments also saw a reduction. Unfortunately, those things like utilities continues to go up every year. We're expecting an increase there, about $1 million. So property casualty insurance is going up. But unfortunately, with the whole, how we're balancing the budget is that through the FEFP program, sometimes we don't get enough money from the state to actually pay for those small little increases. So we're doing our best to do some of these restructuring and look at how we're managing our infrastructure and making the appropriate adjustments so we can balance the budget.
Thank you very much. Okay, anything else, board members? Okay, Dr. Griffin?
Okay, Madam Chair, my first recommendation is that the School Board of Seminole County approve resolution number 2020-01 adopting the tentative millage rates.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Dr. Griffin, on resolution for adopting tentative budget.
My recommendation is that the School Board of Seminole County approve resolution number 2020-02 adopting the 2020-21 tentative budget.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. No further business. The budget public hearing for the tentative budget is adjourned. Thank you. Okay.